Welcome back to In the Can. Raphael Lemkin wrote, "Love despite difference, and rather because of difference." This quote provides a cornerstone for a very important film called Watchers of the Sky. I am pleased to be joined this morning on In the Can by the filmmaker Edith Belzberg. Welcome. Good morning.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Big premiere today.
Yes.
Tell folks a synopsis of the back and forth of this film between Mr. Lemkin and his authorship of the term genocide and the folks that are subjects of your film that are working today.
Wow. Well, I first read about Raphael Lemkin in 2004 in the book A Problem from Hell, and I was taken by his story. It was just one man who barely spoke English, didn't represent a country, had to flee as a refugee from his home country, and didn't represent an institution, barely had an address to call his own. He was so impoverished, was getting handouts of food whenever he could. But this man every day was going to the UN and lobbying all of the delegates, all of the ambassadors to help push the Genocide Convention, which was, in fact, the first human rights law ever pushed through the United Nations. And it was solely because of this one man. And you could almost say he was probably the first lobbyist. I don't know if that's factually true, but right. I don't know who was doing that at that time, who was just, cornering everyone he could to pass this. And it's because, he had been studying reading about cases of mass atrocity, bizarrely since he was a young boy, and then sadly what he had read about all those years happened to him. He lost 49 members of his family, and when he encouraged them to flee with him, they said no, which happens often. They said no, yes. Everything will be fine, we'll be okay here. It's you who actually will have more problems than us. Right. As a refugee, we'll be fine. And of course, they were not, and they perished, they were killed, and then he came to the United States and continued his work that he started long ago in his childhood and early teens, and then his young adult life. And as you mentioned, he coined the word genocide, thinking that would be enough to stop the crime, that would be enough to bring people together. And as we all know, it wasn't enough. And then he pushed through the Genocide Convention, thinking that would be enough. And then again, that wasn't. And so when I was looking to tell his story, I only found maybe 5 or 6 photographs of him. They were all, done in the 50s, so they're very posed, and there wasn't really a kind of a natural feeling that you could get for him. Also, a few people were alive who knew him, and I didn't see how I could create a strong emotional connection with the archival footage that was available to me between him and the audience and viewers. And so at that point, I thought, well, there are people today who are continuing his work, and that's when I started looking. Yeah, exactly, nice. To bring people who are continuing his work. Luis Moreno Ocampo, who at the time was the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court. Ben Ferencz, who knew Lemkin and also was the prosecutor at the Nuremberg trial, and today is continuing to lobby delegates just like Lemkin was 60 years ago. And then Emmanuel, who is an aid worker in Chad on the ground dealing with the refugees. And then, of course, Samantha Power, who at the time was an author and today is the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. So those are the characters in the film.
I see a very real connection from Raphael to these folks that you have worked with and included in this film, and directly to you as a filmmaker doing something by taking on the responsibility and the challenge of dealing with this subject on a continuing basis, on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. Are there times when you're in the midst of making a film like this, when you're overwhelmed with, I'm tired and I can't quite do my thing today, I have to take a break? What is that experience like? Well,
I'd answer that in 2 ways. First, when I have the subjects that I have, it's very hard to not move forward when when every day I'm listening to their words, I'm seeing what they've gone through. It's hard not to continue.
You feel that responsibility.
Absolutely, to go forward. But I do have to say that I've been working on this film for a very long time, and the archival material is difficult. We show very difficult situations in Bosnia, in Rwanda, and in Darfur, and I think reviewing that material over and over again is what was incredibly taxing. But then again, I have to remember people live this. I'm viewing it,
Yes,
and
yes.
so that too becomes a reminder of how to gauge,
I would imagine your responsibility comes fortified through realizing that and reminding yourself of that.
Yes.
Should we take a look at the clip?
Sure, I'd love to. I'm not sure what we're going to be looking at.
I'm not sure. I know we have one, Watchers of the Sky. A word is needed.
Yes.
That's a little overwhelming to me to think that it would be possible to have the vision to say, we've got to be able to encapsulate what is happening and what is my mission and my passion in a single word.
That was, what that clip shows is just the beginning of that sequence, and what that animation is actually. I went to the New York Public Library has all of Lumpkin's writings,
wow.
And so there's notebooks upon notebook upon notebook of his writing that he kept, and and his papers, and boxes and boxes of his papers of him trying literally to come up with this word, and you just see everything that he's trying all these different words, and what we've tried to do in the film is touching his papers and seeing the imprint. We're so distanced from writing really today,
Yes, we are.
And what was interesting is through his the use of how the imprints of the pencil and pen and the different indentations, you could see what he was almost feeling at that time. And so it was important to me as a filmmaker was to recreate that experience so the audience could feel it. So how do we bring his notebooks alive so that other people can, so they don't have to go to the library and cull through all these papers, but they can actually experience somehow visually. And so that's what we try and do there. And you actually do see in his papers, a word is needed, a way to bridge, humanity and sympathetic understanding and to bring in unity. And he was literally felt that if he could come up with the right word, just the right word, that would be enough to bring people together. So.
Well, and I suppose even though it wasn't completely enough, the fact that it was a starting point that continues on to today is a blessing in and of itself.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Edith Belzberg, I'd love to chat with you all day long. I know you have a premiere today.
Yes. At noon, please come, everyone, please come to the premiere at noon, and it'll be playing throughout the week as well.
Congratulations on this beautiful film. Come back and see us soon. I'm sure there will be many more to come. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
The film is Watchers of the Sky. Filmmaker Edith Belzberg. See this film noon today. I'm sure it will be screening many more times throughout the festival. Avail yourself of the opportunity. We'll be right back with more in the can. Charlie Reff from Next and Midnight from the Sundance Institute. Please stay tuned.